Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. Today is Wednesday, the 10th of March, 2021. I'm Royce Fletcher Thomason. I'm glad to be here with you as I am every Wednesday for our Wednesday Hope and Healing Hour, sharing and spreading love and hope and healing and goodwill. I know that we can use a little of that right now. As a matter of fact, is there ever a time that we can't? We can always use a little bit more love, a little bit more hope, a little bit more encouragement in our lives to be all that we can be, to overcome some of the things that have been hindrances, challenges in our lives, and to be able to go forward in our lives with a sense of adventure and wonderment and empowerment, and to live blessed and bountiful lives. My prayer is always that you are overflowing with bountiful, bright blessings, and that good is overtaking you on every turn and every aspect of your life, and that some of that goodness might even come to the point of filling your cup to the point of running over, so that it spills over on everybody that you come in contact with and leaves a drop of heaven behind everywhere that you go. That's my hope and my prayer for you. It's my hope and prayer for us all. And certainly today is no different than that. That's the state that I'm continuously in regarding all of us. Welcome to those of you who are here. Feel free to introduce yourselves. It's always a blessing to me to know who's here. Otherwise, I'm just staring at this green dot at my computer that's kind of hypnotized. Anyway, I hope that you're well. Thank you for being here. It's like I said, always a joy and a pleasure for me to be here sharing with you, and for you to be here sharing in the experience, so that we can all share in this experience together. It's not what it would otherwise be without you here. So thank you for that, and certainly appreciate that. So we focus each week on some level of healing, some type of encouragement on some level. We actually, for anybody who's experiencing physical pain and such, we offer support where that's concerned. But beyond that, we also sometimes have a theme, if you will, that we kind of focus on. And so I just realized that my mic isn't plugged in. Okay, hopefully that sound is a little bit better. Hey there, Linnell. Greetings to you and God bless you. Glad to see you here today. And let's have a conversation, in regards to last week. There's a follow-up from last week, actually. But so our theme for today, is the power of transparency. The power of transparency. True confession. I apparently am a soul who, in this life, feels a need to sometimes learn things the hard way. Sometimes by trial and error, if you will. Which, it can be perceived as a bad thing, or it could be perceived as a good thing. Really, it's just a thing. I guess it's all a matter of one's perception on it. But one thing that I do know is that I am called to share, to teach, to encourage, to inspire. And my hope is that you can learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to learn from your own mistakes. If possible, it's good to be able to learn from the mistakes of other folks so that you don't have to fall in the same pitfalls that they fell in. And I have definitely fallen in some pitfalls. I've bumped my knee a couple of times. I've inadvertently banged my head on the wall. I have, I've had some stuff that hasn't felt quite so pleasant. As I'm sure that you have too. I don't believe anybody hangs out on this rotating sphere we call the earth without going through some level of trouble, challenge, difficulty.
along the way. Hopefully we have a good portion of joy and fulfillment and wonderful experiences to kind of help balance that out. I don't know what it is, but seem to have gotten an eyelash or something in my eye. So if you see me squinting or rubbing my eye, I hope that's not too distracting. My bad if it is. But anyway, years ago, what is this? March 10th of 21? Okay. So August 4th of 1996 is when I was licensed for ministry. I had given my life to God a couple years before that, after a difficult time where I actually saw that several things that really mattered to me a lot were essentially removed from my life during this certain season. And interestingly, those several things, there are three things in particular that are on my heart right now. Each one of those things were things that I had actually placed before God, right? Yeah. And each one of those things ended up actually kind of going away, at least for a season. And that happened in the exact same order in terms of from a chronological standpoint is when I put those things in front of God. Now, that was a long time ago. That was, like I said, in 1994. I was still in college at the time. In fact, school was one of those three things. Didn't work out for me to be able to have the money to get in school that particular semester. And anyway, several other things. I don't want to belabor those things from a long time, but what ended up happening is after that, I ended up giving my life to God, and a couple of years later, I ended up accepting the call to ministry and actually being licensed for ministry. And in the early stages of that aspect of my journey, not just the early stages, that actually went on for a while. I felt some need on some level to be perfect, right? I felt probably, I don't know if there was a time in my life, quite honestly, that I didn't feel a need to be perfect somehow. Maybe so people wouldn't leave me, so I wouldn't be abandoned, so I could be good enough to be loved, right? And then I guess on some level, those things were things that kind of became a part of my inner experience. Whether consciously or deeply within my subconscious. But then those things were added on to during the course of life, during the course of some life experiences. And along the way of that, part of that was, as it relates to ministry and, wanting to live in accordance with the will and the way of God and of goodness, right? And so in that process, in the church that I came up in, was licensed for ministry in, and I'm not wanting to negate anything in anybody else or in anybody else's journey. I will say that it was just my perception, my observation that, and I don't know if it was that way then or just over time I came to that, but there was this sense of a need to not do the wrong thing, if you will. Okay, can anybody out there relate to that in terms of any type of church indoctrination or anything like that? At the same time, I don't know that I felt this profound sense of the presence of God either, right? In the midst of the trying to not do the wrong thing. And as a minister, minister is supposed to be faultless, quote unquote, right? Not have any shortcomings, not get too easily bent out of shape. Over time, my perspectives began to evolve, and from a spiritual standpoint, not just in terms of ministry, but from a spiritual standpoint. And then I started looking at spiritual mastery and the way of the spiritual master. And somewhere along that way, along that journey, it came into my awareness or my consciousness on some level that one who is spiritually mature is not easily angered or frustrated, doesn't get sad or their feelings hurt very easily. And again, don't have any shortcomings, are not prone to typical human shortcomings, whatever that might be, whether it be maybe in thought processes and emotions and behaviors or whatever else that might be the case, right? And so for a long time, I was probably can be considered like a goody two shoes kind of a person. Not that I wanted to be perceived as any better than anybody else or anything. I was just doing my best to do the right thing, right? And even in the process of doing the right thing, there were many times along the way, and not just do the right thing, say the right thing, be the right thing, feel the right thing. I had experiences where I saw people doing things that had a negative impact on other people, right? Maybe it was something in the way that they talked to people. Maybe it was something in the way that they treated people. Maybe it was the way they interacted in relationships, romantic and otherwise, that I didn't really like, that didn't really sit with me well. And so, and then other things too, because I'm something of an empath and I feel what other people are feeling sometimes. And I didn't like the feeling of people feeling sad or hurt or disappointed or frustrated or anything like that. And so I would take it upon myself to do what I could to help them out of that feeling on one level, but also to keep from triggering them from feeling what was already inside of them. Okay. That's something that has shown up in a significant way for me in terms of my interactions with other people. The reality is that we all have our own journey that we're on. We all have a journey that we're on. We all have a path that we have to walk along our own life's journeys. And all of us are going to have some things that we'll have to face, that we'll have to go through in order to grow through. And for me, I admit, and in a way, it was perhaps a degree of self-protection. Perhaps it was a degree of arrogance. But I would try to keep people from being triggered, particularly in relationships with, well, I mean, it's the only way you can trigger somebody is in relationship with them somehow, regardless of what the nature of that relationship is. But I would definitely, what I would do is I would definitely value what other people would feel, but I would place other people's feelings, the value of other people's feelings above my own feelings. That ended up resulting in me getting in relationships that I maybe should not have been in. It ended up putting me in situations where I end up actually feeling not the greatest about myself because I was sacrificing my own beingness, my own isness, right? Nobody should ever actually have to compromise on who they are. And that's something that I want to say to us all today. Hey, Jennifer, peace and love to you, sister. Good to see you as always. Nobody should ever actually have to compromise who they actually are for anybody or anything, not for a job, not for so-called love, not to keep other people from being displeased or disappointed with you. Nobody should ever have to compromise who they are. Now, you may need to compromise your perspective on some things, may need to compromise certain behaviors, but one should never compromise who they are, and one should never lose their sense of identity or the things that are really in alignment with one's own divine blueprint, how God uniquely and specifically, wondrously and gloriously made you. And God made each and every single one of us in beauty and joy and in wonder. There's something good about who we are as we are. And I can tell you, as a brother who has made that mistake, fallen in that pit, bumped his head on a number of occasions, that's not a healthy way to go. That's not a healthy way to go. And I'm going to tell you, as a person who many people consider to be spiritual, and well, I consider myself to be spiritual, a person who's even, a spiritual teacher and a healer. I've been, doing the work of healing for 20 years now. And I've been able to help a lot of people in a lot of ways, but there have also been a lot of areas that were in my own blind spot. And I'm sure that there's some areas that exist within your blind spot as well. But what I will hope is that I might be able to reveal some things that I have come to realize after I got in the accident or in my blind spot that you can then see in me that can hopefully help you keep from getting in a crash or an accident yourself, right? And maybe you already have, I don't know. But I can tell you, as a person who is a lover of love, I can tell you, as a person who values the sense of fulfillment in life, fulfillment in purpose, fulfillment in relationships, we've all got to find our own unique truth and vigilantly and diligently hold to that truth. That doesn't mean that we don't have room for growth, that we aren't open to new ideas, right? That doesn't mean that we're inflexible or that new things can't be shown or revealed to us. But it is important that we get to a point of being unshakable as far as a sense of self-awareness, being in touch with our own individualized, unique voice as planted and inbred within us, and then to also uniquely express that voice, okay, in whatever form it needs to show up, okay? So I am a person who, I get to have the experience of being divorced for the second time within a decade, right? Right, yeah, that's real. Somebody who never wanted to experience that, based on my own experiences as a young person growing up, and even through adulthood. But that was definitely part of my life experience. That was part of my life experience. And what I can say is that for sure, I sacrificed my isness. I sacrificed my isness in that and just about every other relationship too. Okay? That and just about every other relationship too. I don't blame, and the people that I was in a relationship with aren't to blame for that. That's on me. Now, the key is, and you might be able to identify some of those things within yourself, but the key is not to browbeat yourself for the mistake either, right? To own your stuff, to own the smell of your own caca and realize that it stinks, all right? Forgive my graphic nature and what I'm saying here. But I just want to make it plain and be as real as I can be. Okay. It's important that we really do own our stuff, and that we own it, learn from it, and move on from it. and then do differently based on the new stuff that we know, right? Based on the new stuff that we know, we forgive ourselves, forgive whoever else we need to forgive, because really holding on to that stuff, it doesn't serve anybody, okay? It doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve other people in our lives that we interact with. It doesn't serve our business ventures. It doesn't serve our various relationships. It doesn't serve our life's journey at all. Now, I'm not encouraging us to forgive because we have to, or even necessarily because it's the right thing to do, but because it's practical. It's practical. There is a utilitarian value in that forgiveness. And that doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to come overnight. Forgiveness of yourself, your mama, your daddy, that person that you were in a relationship with that abused you or did you wrong or mistreated you or cheated on you or whatever the case might have been. Yourself for doing any of those same things. The reality is that we all have, some errors that we're going to make along the way. Okay. Sometimes we're going to see the pit and still walk into it and then wonder, how in the heck did I get myself in this foolishness again, right? How in the heck did I get myself in this foolishness again? There's a story, I think it's a Buddhist story, and I believe that there are great teaching stories in any tradition. But this story says, I walked down the street. There's a big hole there. I didn't see it. I fell in. It's not my fault. It takes me a long time to get out. I'm walking down the street. There's a big hole there. I fall in. I realize it is my fault. I get out quicker. I walk down the street. There's a big hole in the street. I walk around it. Then I walk down the street, but not that street. I take a different street. And so in many ways, that is what our life's journey is all about. What our life journey is really about, summarized in a few short lines. There are times where we don't see the danger coming. We get stuck. We don't think it's our fault. We complain, we moan, we fuss about it. It takes us a while to get out of that, the manifestations of that challenge. And eventually we end up getting out. We come to the point where we begin to eventually realize that, oh, well, this was on me. And we get out a little bit quicker. And then we come to a point where we avoid those pit holes. And then we come to a point where we just take a different path altogether. Okay. We don't go down that road anymore. And I hope to God that there are some roads that I don't take anymore because they have not been beneficial. Okay. Sometimes I walked down the road, fell, landed on somebody else, hurt them and me. Gosh. And if you're being honest with yourself, maybe you have to, right? But I want to, there was a time when I would like to share things that I did well, positive impact that I made. I'm not really even so pressed about sharing that stuff now. If you find out about it, so be it. If I am sharing it, it's really just to make you aware of what's possible, not because there's anything more special in me than anybody else, because there absolutely is not. There absolutely is not. The same stuff that's in me is in you. If there's any goodness that you see in me, it's because you have the eyes to see it, because it exists within you. That beauty, that wonder is in the eye of the one who beholds it truly. but also maybe there's some things that, that in my revealing you can see in yourself, and maybe, hopefully, not have to make the same mistakes or not have to make the same mistakes again. But I believe that there is value in seeing your truth, owning your truth, recognizing your truth. And right now, I'm at a point where I'm not so necessarily quick to talk about the things I'm doing well, but the areas where I've fallen short. Okay. Because that's relatable. One of the things that I saw as a minister 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when people were first finding out that I was in ministry, people would then go and they would put on their good behavior, or then they'd say all kind of stuff to try to convince me of how good they were or how holy they were. And then they weren't really presenting their actual selves to me. I'm so thankful that I've got people in my life who I've known for a long time. There are people in my life who knew me before I was a minister, people who still know me now, that we're still close, who absolutely do not one iota alter their behavior, their language, or anything because of me. They allow themselves to just be their true selves. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I get to get the real person. But I mean, the reality is, it's time out for, acting holy when you're really not there. That doesn't mean that there aren't some situations where you need to fake it till you make it, because there are. Like when I'm training for the healing, you might not even believe that you can do it. Go for it anyway. The reality, I know that you can. This is what I, share people when I'm teaching. I have 100% confidence that anybody I teach can do this stuff just as well as me, if not better. People usually don't believe that, which means there's somewhere that I'm maybe falling short and helping them to experience that, and to know that for themselves. By the way, shout out to Dr. Cam Ewan, my first healing teacher, who's celebrating his 80th birthday. Beautiful soul, beautiful mind. Oh, I love and appreciate that man, and very appreciative of the way that my life has been transformed as a result of him. Not only does he have a keen sense of awareness in terms of the root of really any sickness or dis-ease, but also has really impressed me with the profound humility that is really, really a thing that is a beauty to behold to me. So shout outs to Dr. Ewan. I had got this sense that the guy was going to teach me how to heal people, and that's how it was laid out there. At a time, I went to have some flyers done, and as things unfolded, my laptop was down. I let somebody borrow it, stopped working in their presence. I went to my mother's place to use her computer. Who's actually here? Hey, Ma, good to see you. Right down the street from her, there's an Office Max. I don't even know if Office Maxes are still out there. I think they're just all Office Depot now. And so I went to get some stuff copied and cut and stuff. And the guy offered to show me things that he did for other people in the event that I wanted to have any other printing needs tended to in the future. And just to be polite, I consented. Everything that he pulled out was on this 35th generation Shaolin master by the name of Dr. Cam Ewan. And I was blessed to be able to train with that beautiful soul and brilliant mind. 20 years ago, it'll be 20 years next month, in basic, intermediate, and advanced levels of Chinese energetic medicine. And So I really do want to honor him. Even in spite of all that, though, and I would do other training and receive other certifications as well, and then do self-healing to develop and teach a methodology of healing, which is currently known as TTM, or Transcending the Matrix, which at least one of you here has been through that training and know a little something about that and have effectively utilized it yourselves. Even still, there's still stuff that's in my blind spot. There are times I'll admit that I don't even feel like doing some self-healing. There are times where, frankly, I feel lazy and just don't do it, even though I realize I could benefit from it. There are times where, along the way, where I've doubted or questioned my own abilities as a healer. But I want to say to you, and I'm going to own that, and I'm going to speak it publicly, hoping that that doesn't affect anybody else's self-confidence. But I am sharing that for us all to know that we all have stuff that we go through. We all have stuff that we grow through. We all have challenges. We all have times where we just aren't quite feeling 100% where we'd like to be. We all have times where we might feel frustrated or disappointed with others, and yet really, if we would really be completely honest with ourselves, it's usually not somebody else that we really have the issue with. No matter what somebody else has done, the one who we usually really have the issue with is ourselves. Sometimes it's for allowing ourselves to go through what we went through. Sometimes it's for our own poor judgment or poor decisions. Sometimes it's because we saw something. We saw the hole in the road and we walked into it anyway. And then are mad and cussing and fussing because we got hurt in the process, right? Sometimes there are other people letting us know, hey, there's a hole up yonder. Be careful. And in our own willfulness, stubbornness, or whatever, we still end up going down that road and falling in it. Sometimes we go down a road that we've been down before, and we know that the hole is there, and we think that somehow we'll avoid it this time, but we don't, and we end up falling back in. Or sometimes we go down that road, we see it, and then fortunately walk around it until we finally have the presence of mind to just go down another freaking road altogether. Right? So, again, anybody who's here today, I want to just greet you in the name of love and welcome you here. Feel free to just say a quick hello, if you would. We'd love to know who's here, even if it's just a hi or a wave or something. Even if you put a like or a heart, I can't even see who's doing that until after the video is ended. So yeah, and even just a hello or something, we definitely always appreciate that, right? Okay. And so I do believe that there is a tremendous level of power in transparency. I didn't learn that in my earlier ministerial life. I learned that actually when I hooked up with TLC, with Transforming Love Community in Detroit, Reverend Shahir and team there. Linnell, you know something about TLC. I learned the value of a minister being transparent there. And there's something in someone in ministry, somebody who's on a spiritual path, somebody who people respect as a spiritual teacher or a spiritual leader, being able to see their humanness, because it gives the sense of awareness that, you know what, if it's okay for this person to fall short or to get frustrated or to missed the mark somewhere along the way, you know, I don't have to feel so bad about myself doing that. And I don't have to fake the funk and act like it's not happening. Okay. I can own the fact that I'm not where I'd like to be, whether that's emotionally or spiritually or any other way that you might want to be and aren't quite there yet. You know, there are times where earlier in life where I was thinking I was being strong because I wasn't feeling certain things. And stuff just came back to bite me in the butt much, much later. And then I had to learn to feel the things that were there that I wasn't allowing myself to feel before, whether that was sadness or frustration or guilt or shame or whatever the case might have been. You know, it's important to be able to feel that stuff, feel it to let it go. I sang a song on Smule. I don't know if you all are familiar with Smule. It's a pretty cool karaoke app. It's actually a form of social media in a way, but it's for karaoke, and it seems to be a safe space for people to sing. People who, like me, aren't really singers, but who love music. And actually, I sang a song today, "Feel the Fire," by Stephanie Mills and Teddy Pendergrass. Whatever it is that we've got going on inside of us, whether it's the fire or the ice or anything in between, it's good for us to be able to allow ourselves to actually feel it, to feel our way through it, and to then be able to get to the other side of it. A lot of times we tuck away those uncomfortable emotions in a place to never revisit again if we can help it. But those things always sit there festering, and they end up showing up somehow. They end up showing up somehow, and sometimes they show up in our interactions with other people, or sometimes they show up in our failure to interact with other people. We might sequester ourselves and just not deal with people because we've tucked away such a significant part of ourselves and not allowed ourselves to feel. But I want to encourage us all to be fully present to our heart and whatever is going on in it. Whether that's something that feels good, feels great, or not so much, but to allow ourselves to feel those feelings and then to move through them, to feel the feelings and then invite love into the space where the feelings are being felt, right? Because that's what really is needing to happen anyway. We close ourselves off because we felt something other than love. We had a moment where something other than love was coming up for us. And that doesn't feel good because we somehow know deep down inside that love is the nature of how things are supposed to be, right? We know that somehow. And love is the essence of who we are. God is love. And we're made of the same stuff as God. And so when we're not feeling love, when we're either not feeling love, lovable, loving, or loved, we're feeling disconnected from the essence of who we really are. And that doesn't feel good. That feels really sucky. That's not a good feeling at all. And so because we don't like that feeling, we tuck things into a little corner. We tuck things away into a little crevice that we, you know, maybe if we can get away with, won't ever go back to again. Because we don't want to feel that uncomfortable feeling. But what it really is that we're wanting, what we're really wanting isn't to not feel what's bad. What we're really wanting is to feel what's right. What we're really wanting is to feel what's right. And what's right is love, because that, again, is who we are. It's what we are. It's our essence. It's our essence. It's who we and what we really are at our core, at the core of our existence. And almost, not all, but almost any song that's out there. And I'm a lover of music. Has been a lover of music as long as I can remember. Just about every song is a song about what? About love. Okay? because love is so key to who we are. It's the essence of who we are. And sometimes we try to protect ourselves from feeling the pain of the loss of love, the pain of the disappointment of love not working out, the pain of being hurt in the context of love, when really all that we're looking for is love in the first place. And so if you'll allow yourself to feel the feeling, whatever that feeling is, no matter how uncomfortable it is, and then invite love into that space. Allow it to be transformed. Allow that space to be transformed by the presence of love. By the presence of love. That's when the healing happens. And I say this and I know it. And I confess, even sometimes I forget it, right? Even sometimes I forget it. There are some times when things might creep up, like, oh boy, I forgot about that crevice and that I tucked that away over there. This isn't feeling so spiffy here. And then I too, like I'm sharing with you, had to expose that space to the presence of love. Invite love into that space. Invite love into that space, right? Right? And I think that's so important. I think that's so important for us all to, wherever we have those areas, to bring love into that space. You know, it's easy. It's such a great temptation to try to tuck the stuff away and never go there again. Oh my goodness. But, you know, what's hiding in the dark is going to be painful until it's brought to the light of day. You know, we fear bringing it to the light because we think that will hurt more. It might feel uncomfortable for a little bit, but that will be much more temporary. And the sooner that we shed light on it and the brighter the light we shed on it, the quicker the pain will go away. The more readily it will be transformed. And then as we continue to go forth and we don't feel the need to hide so much, we can let our true colors show. You know, some of the people that I've really appreciated and respected the most in life weren't people that always said or did the right thing. Confession. I'm a person who more times than not has perhaps said or at least tried to do the right thing. That doesn't mean it was actually the right thing. It might have been the politically correct thing. It might have been the thing that I thought was going to keep from hurting somebody else's feelings, but maybe still not the most honest thing. Maybe not the most, when I say honest, I mean emotionally honest. I'm not saying that I would outright tell lies to people, but I wasn't always honest with myself. I wasn't really always true to the truth of my own heart. And that will hurt me and other people. And the same is true of you. So I've always really valued and appreciated those people who are really emotionally honest with themselves first and foremost, because you can't be emotionally honest with another unless you're emotionally honest with yourself. And then walk in that truth. Walk that truth out. Okay? So anyway, I don't want to keep babbling on and on. Is there anybody who has any physical pain or even any emotional healing where you'd like some support on? I'm very happy to offer some support in that area. Not because I'm any better than you, just because I can, just because I've been blessed with that gift and that ability. So if anybody has any area where you have a healing opportunity and you'd like some support, jot that in the chat or in the comments rather, and let me know. Like I said, I'm more than happy to offer some support where that's concerned. That's why we're here, to support each other in the ways that we're gifted, in the ways of our talents and skills. Not all of us have the same gifts. Not all of us have the same talents, knowledge, or skills. But we all have skills that can benefit somebody somehow. This just happens to be that for me. Okay. All right. I know that it takes a little while for my words to go through the StreamYard app. to be able to show up on Facebook and on YouTube. So I'll give it another couple seconds or so, and then if I don't see any comments, we'll just go ahead and close it out for today. Okay. By the way, if there's anybody who's interested in training, that's something I'm happy to do. Again, there is some power in me. I'll own that. I don't take credit for it. I own it, but I don't take credit for it. The same thing exists within you. It's just a matter of us accessing it. So if you want to be able to access it, I'm more than happy to share it with you, and we can work it out together. Just reach out to me either on Facebook at Royce Fletcher Thomason, or on Instagram at Royce Fletcher Thomason, or Instagram at Transcending the Matrix. Either one is fine, and just send me a direct message, and I'll if you don't hear back from me in 24 hours though, just message me again, because my inbox does sometimes get inundated and I might miss it if I don't see it. And a lot of other things have ended up coming through. Okay. All righty. Well, I don't see any other comments or anything out there. So we'll get ready to close for today. But actually, I don't know why, but for some reason, I am feeling kind of guided to, where is this? I want to remove the banner for a moment, but I can't find where it is. Okay, there we go. For some reason, I feel inclined to close with a poem. It's a poem. The name of this poem is called A Breakfast Note. Breakfast Note. There's a story behind that. It's a poem that I wrote in 18 years ago. Yeah, 18 years ago. It's around this time, and I think it was around this time in 2003. I hope I even remember it, so pardon me if I don't. Shadows of the wind whisper the waxing moon's rising, of celestial chords of magical melodies, dancing like a dervish to the beat of the earth's pulse, vibrating the mystical music of love's last dance and life's first song, bringing the dawn of a new reality. I transform myself into God's image of me. Of this I sing as love's memory smiles in my senses. Feeling, tasting, touching, hearing, smelling, seeing love's lips kissing me on my forehead, opening my third eye to a new reality as I see the signs, as I hear the music, as I feel my heart transcending time and space, and yesterday's pain is erased by the taste of the healing meal of now. My ancestors feed me as I serve them a 9-course chow down and get down on my knees and pray. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, beloved begotten Son, thank you for the smell of the roses that accompanied the prick of the thorn that had caused my heart to bleed, and for planting a new seed, the seed of knowledge that she never meant to hurt me, that you never would desert me, that you've got a special song for me played in the perfect key of life. Forevermore, your love I adore. It keeps me coming back for more and more and more. I shout, I sing, hallelujah. Thank you, God, for my healing. God bless you. I love you, and I'll see you soon.